Hi, friends. I'm Andy Green, and today I'm getting a tarot reading because this is the Naked Man Podcast. This week, I'm joined by a new and wonderfully magic and mysterious friend, Circe, a spiritual guide and tarot reader. If any of you are like me and are new or unfamiliar with the art of tarot, don't fret. Circe provides all necessary background in the moment. The only backstory you need to be prepared for in the session to come is that this reading occurred right after my first manifestation walk with Delusion LA. Manifestation walks are a somatic embodiment practice where we take our dreams and anchor them into reality, one step at a time, feeling, processing, and purging the old to make room for your new self. The theme of the walk was blockages, and what I focused on won't be unfamiliar to you, dear listener of this podcast: money. I had a profound experience that felt akin to a drug trip while completely sober, and I will share this in greater detail soon. But for now, let's jump right in the middle of our pre-reading. I'm learning that I need help, that I need to work on asking for help, and that I'm learning to sort of embrace more of the spirituality and just sort of as a means to know myself better, or sort of fine tune my instincts and my I don't know. Like I feel like I'm not an idiot. I'm not but I just like I get overwhelmed. There's so many different shiny objects. It's really hard for me to I love every idea, and they're good ideas. Like I so it's like, it's really hard for me to, I guess, trust myself or trust in the process that money will come. It's hard for me to trust which projects are the right ones. And sometimes I'm getting better at that, and I've like honed it down. And so like coming into this, it's like, I think I realize I have 13 projects going on, and it's like, I can't, especially I'm going to co-direct a film next month, and I've never directed a film in my life. Mm-hmm. So, and I want to be as all in on that as I can. Yeah. But so I'm recognizing like, okay, I cannot have 13 things on my mind. Like this is, I need as little as I can. And I've been like, okay, there's 4 I can do. Yeah. You know, the newsletter, the podcast, trying to sell that book, and the movie. Those are the 4. Yeah. The other things I'm going to have to put a bookmark in, close up, or delegate if I can, because some of them sort of feel like they're moving, but others, whatever, I can trust that. Yeah, but that's sort of where, that's like the work that I've done to this point. Mm-hmm. And then I've done a lot of thinking and sort of work on money, like trying to just defrag my brain about like sort of how I think about it. And it's a lot of it is just goes down to worthiness too, of like, we were talking about self-worth, but it's like, do I deserve money? Do I deserve help? Do I deserve people like attention? Do I like, who am I to ask Circe for help? Who am I to like take your valuable time? Who am I to ask any of my friends that are talented to work with me, especially sometimes when I don't have the money or I don't know what the fucking direction is. Yeah. So I think, and I also just am so insecure, and it used to be sort of like, this is my project. Like I'm in my own world. It's safe here. Yeah. So, but yeah, now I'm just like, well, fuck that. Let's blow it all up. Everyone come on in. Cause it feels like a lot of people are ready, but they need they need the push. Yeah. And I'm trying to build a structure.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, that's sort of where we find ourselves. I have this, I make art for a living and I'm secure in who I am. That is like my vision statement that I'm working toward. Yeah. And so I want that to be fucking true. Like I want to stop waiting or like doubting that I can do that. And just, Taurus apparently is about abundance. So let's be abundant. That's where I'm at. How is that?
Beautiful. I love that. So that's fantastic. As far as like directing the reading, then it'd be fun to explore some of these relationships to finances. I love doing past, present, and future drawings.
Okay.
So I'd love to do one of those around that topic for you. And then another drawing that I really love doing for myself is what do I want and what do I need? And having the conversation about how those things are different from each other, and where there is crossover, and just kind of, again, exploring those things. We can kind of go from there. If we want to do additional drawings, we can. I don't often do traditional spreads. I kind of like being able to explore, having a little bit more freedom with the way that I draw. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the second one, honestly, like, what do I want? What do I need? That always terrifies me, and always like, I don't know. It's so hard for me to like admit to what I want or need, or to figure out the difference. So I think that would be a great thing to do. And Perfect. I do like the past, present, future on the money as well.
Great.
And then, I mean, in terms of time, I guess it's like, I think those two would be perfect. I don't want to take any more of your time.
Yeah. I also really enjoy doing for myself a mind, body, spirit reading. I don't know if you want to do that as well, online or offline, to explore some of the other things that we've talked about too.
I mean, we're here, I would love to, let's do it,
Right.
Let's see. I mean, I guess we'll see how our, what's the word, stamina goes. Like if it's just like, if I'm just like tapped out, but let's carve me open, and I guess maybe not the head. That's where I am always up here and intellectualizing. Yes. So let's go here. I'm wearing my unicorn shirt.
Perfect.
So let's do this. Yeah.
Let's get magical.
Let's get magical. I love that as a tagline. And then, did you want me to say like, what do I hope to get out of this reading?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Well, God, I mean, I'm always tempted by answers, but that to me, I learn in therapy all the time that it's more like, I think it's sort of direction and clarification. Like, I think answers are sometimes dangerous, or they're like, not necessarily, they change. I don't know. It's hard to like.
Absolutely.
So I think I feel like I'm on the right direction, but I guess that clarification, and I think that's sort of maybe where I struggle with, because it's like I said, with the wants and the needs, like sometimes that's unclear.
That resonates.
Yeah,
I think we can kind of dive in at this point. So I use the Fountain Tarot deck. Whoa. That's just been, it really resonated with me. It was one of those things where I was walking through a store and it like called to me, Okay, so it says created by Jonathan Sayz, Siaz, written by Jason Gruhl, Gruhl, and designed by Andy Todaro.
Hey, another Andy. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Andy with an I.
Ooh.
Yes. Fancy.
That is fancy. I haven't upgraded to an I yet.
Maybe you will after this reading.
Ooh, yeah. My eye will be open. My third eye.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I love it too. All right. So we'll go ahead and start with the past, present, future.
Okay.
And we can talk through as much as you want. I do just want to remind you that this is the point right here where I am going to kind of stop being friend Circe. And now I'm tarot and intuitive Circe, where I'm going to just say whatever I feel in this moment to you. I am not going to be offended if you disagree. My job is just to say the things that I feel to you, and then you can do with them whatever that is that you want to, including reject them.
Okay.
So that is your prerogative. Okay, so let's see here. Ooh, okay. I'll hold them up for you as we're going through them. So this is a really interesting reading, especially because of what we are talking about. What I want to mention first is that we have drawn the King of Wands. I'll show you the images real fast here. So this is your card for past.
All right.
Your card for present is the 9 of Coins.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And your card for future is the 5 of coins.
Oh, interesting. The number went lower, but I don't know what that means. So cool. Okay.
So you can kind of think of, just to kind of explain tarot a little bit, and I'm still learning. This is kind of my interpretation. It's almost like working with a therapist, like if you're working with an intuitive, sometimes there's a connection and sometimes there's not. And it's because we all kind of interpret things differently. But as far as like the deck itself is concerned, I'm not sure how much you know about it, but there is the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major is basically like, it's almost like a hero's journey type of concept through the understanding of life. And it starts with the Fool. Traditionally, that is an image of like a young man standing at the edge of a cliff, and he's like going to make a terrible decision and jump off and, like whatever, or maybe it's a wonderful decision and it's a new beginning, but it's basically the Fool. We all start as the Fool. And
sometimes end as the Fool. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's, um, so as you continue through, the last card is the World, and that talks about the completion of a journey, those kind of things. So some people only draw from the major arcana. I personally like including multiple suits. So the rest of the deck, the minor arcana, are wands, swords, cups, and coins. Usually it's not coins, it's something like a pentagram thing. Pentacles, Pentacles, there we go. And so wands, which is like the past, that's in your past place here, just to kind of, because we're talking tarot and it's kind of a learning experience as well. Wands are associated with fire, passion and will, goals, intentions, action, masculine energy. Coins are associated with earth. So even though this reading, something that I can immediately tell you is that you are moving into a more grounded place. And so, and that is, as far as the progression of your reading so far, because coins are health, body and physical experience, money, the senses, practicality. So, but because of fire is like this passion. We have already talked about, passion is just kind of this inherent thing for you where you just have it in all realms, in everything that you're trying to do. And I think that this reading right from the get-go here, you're headed toward more earthiness, more understanding, more quiet moments maybe of passion rather than bursts of energy. It's more of a sustained thing that you're heading toward. So
that sounds more healthy.
Yeah. It could be that, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, fire is good. Fire is good, of course, because that's what, makes you move. But getting to a place that is a little bit more grounded is never a bad thing, I think, personally. And I mean, without even looking more into the card meanings immediately, the King of Wands, it being higher in the suit. So like it goes from ace up to, some people actually read tarot with a deck of playing cards.
Oh.
Yes. So it's a similar concept to that. And if you think about it, the ace is basically the Fool, and you're moving through to the world. And so there are connotations between each card and whatever that would reflect number-wise in the major arcana. So there's a lot of different connections we can look at here, but I think it's really interesting that it seems like with this past card being the King of Wands, it's like you've reached the top of that area and you're entering a new one. So like you're entering into a different phase of life. It's kind of, you are starting off again as the Fool. I think that this 9 of coins, I think that kind of speaks to the experience you just had, because I think that kind of propelled you forward a little bit. and, you were able to really connect with your senses and to reach kind of for this mountaintop experience. Then we do go back to the 5 of coins though. And I think that that speaks to some challenges that you have coming up. And I think that there's a lot that you can remember from this moment right now and from the walk that you can carry through when you're having some of these harder moments down the road. And I don't think that it's something that's going to be horrendous or anything like that. It's just that what you are doing is hard. And I think that you're doing it in such a thoughtful way that it's even harder. Some ways, ignorance is bliss. And, sometimes I've even thought to myself, man, if I just hadn't asked that question, I wouldn't have had to work through all of this other stuff, And so I think it's really important to ask those questions. It shows this is a progressive reading, even though it goes from a 9 of coins to a 5 of coins. You are definitely moving you're moving toward your goals, and I keep hearing the word grounded coming up. Like you're moving toward that stability and that feeling of knowing yourself. So that is really, I'm definitely feeling that. To speak about the cards specifically then, going back to the past, is the King of Wands again. That talks a lot about, that's really interesting, mature regulation of passions, life as an adventure, a generous leader, expansiveness. You made the decision to create this life for yourself. And that was a really hard thing to do. And I think that is kind of you reaching that world card at the end of the major arcana, like making that decision and deciding to throw yourself into this unknown territory, making the decision to become the Fool. It's not an easy thing, because then you have that there are 22 cards in the major arcana, it is a long ass journey. And so that is not an easy thing to do. And I think that this 9 of coins I want to look at next, because it's so interesting to me. It seems like it's almost like this is a gift. This moment that you are in right now is a gift because of your courage, because you took the chances that you did. You are now experiencing these deeper emotions, these deeper senses. Your experience has expanded in the world. And so 9 of coins speaks about individual accomplishment. So independent success, self-mastery, discipline, safety, a rich life, fulfillment. The opposite, the reversal of this card, I personally don't read reversals. So what that means is
it was flipped the other way. Yeah.
Exactly. If it's upside down. So some readers will read them as the exact opposite. So in this case, it would be instability, loss of security, deception, danger, self-doubt. I kind of do tarot where I combine these things, because I think that there are always pros and cons in every circumstance that we experience. It is never just good. It is never just bad. There are things that we are going through. There are things that we are reaching for, and sometimes we do fall short. And that is just the way that it is. And it's, what we do with that, how we bounce back, how we stand up stronger, that matters. And so, but this card, I feel, leans more positive, talking about that discipline and hard work. And, the things that you're doing right now, you're building a foundation for your future and for the future of our society as well. I think that there is a place for what you are doing, and it is very important. I can't really tell if I feel the need to say it's that saying about it's important we can want to save the world. We can want to save people, but if in the end you're the only one that's saved, that's okay too. That kind of concept. And I do feel that here. I think that, we have talked about that there is a lot of focus outward.
Yeah.
For you. And I think that there is something really important in this moment about individuality and exploring the things that you don't want to look at. And I think that that's the only way that you continue forward. And I think maybe this moment also gave you the opportunity to look at some of those things through a different lens, because working on ourselves and looking at things that are hard to look at within ourselves is hard, but it's the most rewarding thing you can ever do. And it does just ultimately propel you forward. So I think that's this present moment. And this, the 5 of coins, like I said, it's not a step backward, but I think that you did have this mountaintop experience, so you're still just making this journey, and these things are never linear.
Right.
It's that whole healing isn't linear type of thing. And this one talks about, on the face of it, you might see this card kind of looks like hardship.
Right. Yeah. There's it looks like 2 people and they sort of, or something. They just look impoverished, right? It might just
They're
be
in a doorway. Yes. Yeah. And, but the thing that's really important to remember about this card is the bright light that shines through the window.
Right. It's like a stained glass. It looks, yeah.
It is. And it's important when you're in these moments to remember that you can walk to the window, that you can step into the light. That recognition, it's a matter of remembering that courage that you took to quit your job, to do this full time. It's remembering that courage, that nugget that you have in there, and pulling that up again when you need it, because it's in there. You've done it. You did it once already. You've taken that leap of faith, and it has been wonderful. It's been such an amazing experience, and you have grown exponentially in these past months, but it's something that you will have to pull from again. And I think that it'll be important for you to continue to fill your well with things so there's water to draw.
Yeah. To fight that burnout or the giving too much. That definitely resonates. How do I fill my well? Resting, probably. And I mean, focusing inward, like you said.
Yeah. And that's something too that we can explore with the mind, body, spirit reading if we want to, because that might be able to give a little bit of insight into what kind of things each of those aspects of you require to thrive.
That actually sounds really interesting, because it's sort of like, it's that double-edged sword of, being me and being social and being out and connecting with people is like my favorite thing, but it's also, it's exhausting. And it's, again, focusing outward rather than on me or even, my family, and stuff like that. So it's sort of, The
reason I love this deck, actually, they give you like a little booklet.
Yeah.
And I love, for this card specifically, there's one line that I do want to share with you directly from the book. And it says, as challenging as it may be, you must remember that adversity and exile are opportunities to accept your current reality, center yourself, and find strength. From a place of quiet, you can reassess what is truly important, learn what the moment is teaching you, and determine what resources are actually at your disposal. It's just going to be, you are going to still need to pull from that courage. You've got it. It's in there.
I do. Yeah. I think that's sort of inherently to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Along with that passion.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's our first reading. Did you have any questions for me? Do you want to go more in depth about any of them?
I mean, there was a lot of information in there, but I didn't disagree with like any of it, or like I didn't have any sort of violent reactions. It sort of felt like, oh yeah, that feels, accurate, or like it, but like also, I mean, thank you, because it was also very, nice or humbling the way it was read, in some way that. In a way, it's almost like a recap of like, oh, I'm like further along than I thought, but then I'm also sort of on part 2 now. I'm in act 2. I'm a fool once more on this one. Yeah. And of course I, love the card to be like, oh, you did it, but that's not what, yeah. But I know that's an illusion.
Yeah.
But it's always the dream. It's always the dream. It's always like, oh yeah, right. Circe's going to give me all the answers, all the things. But yeah, no, I think,
right? Yeah.
The grounded thing really does sound nice, because I think I've been sort of a dreamer. And I mean, that's what fuels the fire and the passion, but it's also like, it's time, the clouds I will always be able to access. It's the here and now, the ground that I need to remember.
The grounded, I mean, it does seem like you are headed toward a much more stable situation. I think you have some hard things before then. If I had to guess, I would say that you will be, I think this year is going to be hard. There are going to be some hard things that happen closer to the end of the year. And then I would say in 2023, you're going to move past this specific reading, and you'll be beyond this card.
Okay. Beyond the 5 of coins. All right.
It's also important to remember these kind of readings. We usually say that they are good for like 3 to 6 months out. So it's not something where I'm going to be able to tell you what the rest of your life is going to look like.
Right.
Through the end of this year is when things are going to be a little bit difficult, when you're going to need to be pulling that courage.
All right. Then, holidays.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right.
Maybe, who knows? So we'll go ahead and do our, what do you want? What do you need?
Okay.
Okay. Oh man. I love tarot.
Oh no, I'm scared.
So you do actually have a major arcana that has shown up. It is the Judgment card, and this is in the what do you want category.
Whoa. Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that in a second here.
Ooh, I want Judgment. That sounds scary.
It's not.
Okay.
It's a really good card. We'll talk about it more.
Yeah.
So, and in the what do you need column, we have the 9 of Wands.
And he's sort of, is he like sort of doing art or work, or like?
He's working.
Yeah. Like building something.
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh.
And he's reaching the precipice.
Ah, a familiar place.
So yes, indeed. So as far as Judgment is concerned, it's not necessarily the judgment that we think of, when you're talking to your friends and, you're like judging somebody for being weird or whatever, like whatever. It's not that kind of judgment. It's more like in the traditional tarot decks, there's like a balancing, what is it called? Like with the weights.
Oh yeah. Like the sort of,
scale.
Those are the scale of justice, right? Like that's what you're talking
about. Exactly. Yeah. So there's like that kind of concept going on. So Judgment speaks more to that kind of situation. And in this deck specifically, it's about reconciliation and forgiveness, acknowledgement and release of the past, a definitive decision, an altered view, an invitation from within, new purpose. So what you want is to, it says it right in here. I'm going to read a sentence from it again, because it says, It renews our ability to love purely, flow freely, and transcend our struggles. Yeah.
That sounds lovely. But it also, God, that resonates a lot with me too. That sort of desire that I have, or like that sort of I'm holding back of, I mean, forgiveness of self for sure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when you said that it wasn't necessarily bad. I was sort of like, oh yeah, I bet you it's like sort of not self-judgment, but like, I mean, kind of, or self-actualization or self love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's interesting because, of course, we have another wand card here in the what do you need category. And that is, again, that fire, that masculine energy. So I think that is kind of a propulsion for you. I think that might be that courage that we're talking about. And it seems like you have that, which is really good. But kind of moving from this judgment card into you still have some work to do. The things that you want are attainable. It's about continuing to put in the work, continuing to deal with the minutia of the circumstances, like the stupid, monotonous bullshit that you don't want to do, no. It's kind of that recognition, but that you can also find passion in those things. And I think that I'm having something come up just again about the asking for help. You are doing really hard things right now, and you are spreading yourself thin, and it's important to focus in the areas where you are passionate so that you keep going. And if you can have someone else do some of the bullshit, do that,
I mean, that's what I want. Yeah.
And I think it's about not being afraid of that.
Yeah. I guess that's what I need. Yeah. Rather than want. Right. Yeah.
And owning it, because if you don't do that, that's how those flames are stifled. And you won't burn as brightly. Mm-hmm. And then you won't accomplish what you want to, or as fast as you want to. So I think it's important. Again, I think that this kind of talks about filling that well and making sure that you have water to draw from. So let's go to the 9 of Wands specifically, though, because I want to see what we have here. So I love this card. The title of the card is The Final Push.
Yeah. All right.
And it's about hitting the target, persevering against all odds, extreme exertion rewarded by relaxation, a last minute surge, reflection. I'm actually, again, I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but I'm just going to run with it. Nearly exhausted and a little doubtful that he will ever reach the top, a man exerts a final push in hopes of completing what he started. With a 9 of Wands, success is certain. An unstoppable energy has been released. Accomplished achievers know this feeling well. Each new challenge brings wisdom, but it also exacts a toll. You are stronger for your efforts, and now is the time to savor your achievement, replenish your energy, and consider what you have learned. New challenges lie ahead, and your attention must stay keen.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that feels dead on. How I came into here being like, I need to focus and hone for the challenge ahead, new stuff.
Well, and I was going to say, it definitely falls in line with your past, present, future reading as well, because it's almost like this 9 of Wands goes right between this 9 of Coins and the 5 of Coins. Like it's kind of like, this is that journey from place to place. It's the continued effort. I do think that what you want is possible. It takes effort. I think you're getting better at that. again, it's that practice. I actually heard, I feel like I need to share this with you. I don't know if you've seen that presentation, this guy standing in front of this huge crowd and he's like, practice makes, and of course everyone responds.
Perfect. Right.
And he's like, no, unlearn that. Practice makes progress. That resonated with me in a big way.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah. And I think that is a really important thing for you to remember in this moment, as far as the, that mountaintop experience, when you are practicing that release of emotion, when you are exploring what works for you to really lance the wound, to get that stuff out. It's going to be about continuing to make those attempts and try something new, and if one thing doesn't work, that's okay. Keep going, keep trying, keep being creative, and don't be afraid to explore new things. And I'm feeling, going back to the shame thing, don't be afraid to look shame right in the face and tell it to fuck off.
Fuck off, shame.
Yeah, there's something else happening, but I think it's for the next part of the reading.
Interesting. Well, yeah, but like the shame does feel like the sort of the chains or the thing that's preventing me from what the judgment card is saying that I want.
Yeah.
And that is sort of acceptance of self, or just sort of, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question.
Please.
And it's not something that you need to answer to me. It's just, if you want to, we can talk about it, but do you feel that you need to forgive yourself for something?
Yes.
So whatever just came into your mind, I think that is maybe what some of these hardships are going to be about.
Okay.
And I think that it's not going to be so much about, I think it's going to be really hard for you because it's not about other people. Even if you feel like it's about other people, it's not about other people. It's something you need to give yourself grace.
Okay. That.
So
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you have any other questions about that part?
No, I feel like it's this, you're so clear, and it also is just sort of fitting. And I think hopefully people listening also, it feels like, yeah, I don't, in this moment. Well, I guess I wanted to, because I think I was sort of assumed, like, I want to maybe clarify more about what I want. I think that's a thing that I'm like, okay, I get it. But also it's like, no, I want to get maybe slightly more nitty gritty in it, because I feel like I always sort of like assume that I get it, or like, oh yeah, I understand, but it's like, even more specifically, what does that card sort of represent for me? Maybe there's a further, because that was in the back of my mind, but then I was like, nah, it's okay. But then I'm like, no, we need to do it if it's in there.
We're here. Yeah, we're here. So that's the what do you need card you wanted more clarification on, right?
Oh, well, no, I thought judgment is what I want, correct? And then what I need is so the what I want card, the judgment card is more like the need. I think actually that does make sense. I need help. I need to be better at that. I also need to keep working. I need to keep, lighting the fire, that all feels right.
Okay. I love that. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I am going to draw an additional card. This is something that we can do as a clarification.
Okay.
And I think that this card has a lot to say. I might just go ahead and read this one to you as well.
Okay.
But we will also draw another one. Lot of wands for you. Lot of wands. Really interesting. Okay. So judgment, I'll go ahead and read this. Of course, the title is reconciliation. Coming to terms with our past changes us and fosters healing. It renews our ability to love purely, flow freely, and transcend our struggles. Judgment is a voice calling from deep within you, a distant yet familiar invitation. It requires intention and a significant act of bravery, uncovering and arousing the enshrouded memories of your past. If you accept the invitation, they will rise up fully exposed. Now is your best opportunity to face them, forgive them, and move on once and for all.
Okay. That does. Ooh, okay. There's a lot there, but yeah, face it. All right.
Well, let's see what the other card that we drew here for clarification on what do you want is the Queen of Wands.
Okay. Interesting.
So it's interesting, especially because your past card from the reading a little bit earlier was the King of Wands.
Right.
So I think I'm going to say something.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
I think you're a little stuck in the past.
All right.
So Queen of Wands is about charismatic compassion, warmth and generosity, genuine concern for others, a person guided by instinct. I think what this talks about is your want to impact our society. And I think as far as goals are concerned, it means that you will gain fulfillment. You will gain something from continued focus on what you are doing for others. And I want to clarify that doesn't mean the focus should be outward. So it's complicated. It's complex, of course.
Sorry, it feels more, it's like, okay, I am doing something or like, it's more like figuring out what I am able to do or what I am good at in terms of those things, like inward. Oops, sorry, hit my, but like, is that where you're going?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh no, please.
Oh,
keep talking.
I mean, well, no, because I think it's sort of like, instead of the sort of the white male savior complex or or just like looking out and like really caring for other people and being so, bending over backwards or just like worrying about things I can't control. It feels like, well, how did you phrase it? I mean, it's just, okay. It's like I even said this to a friend. I was like, okay, I'm connecting with people left and right. It's overwhelming. It's exciting, but I also I haven't been able to figure out how to leverage it in the way that's the healthiest for all parties. Does that make sense?
It does. And what I am hearing screaming right now is trust yourself, damn it.
Trust yourself. I love that. Okay.
I think that it's something where there is shame. There is shame and there are things that you want to work on and there are things that, you can get better at. And there are things that you don't know what you don't know, of course, but you have to let some of that go. You have to, because what you're doing is important and it will impact people if you let it.
If I let it, I like that. Circe, throwing it down. Thank you.
How you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm feeling, like it feels good. It feels hard. It feels like a lot, but it also feels very Andy, for sure. Like,
good.
And that you clearly know me or read it. Yeah. And that's also sort of a nice, safe feeling too, of like, oh, okay, this person sees me, and that's nice.
I'm good.
So thank you.
I'm glad. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, did that kind of provide a little more clarification for you?
Yes, it definitely did. Yeah. It's sort of like, if anything, it was just sort of like, oh, I want more clarification. Trust yourself. Oh, okay. It was sort of like the insecurity is maybe me wanting more Sometimes I'm actually, the clarification might be a distraction. Like it might just be like me wanting more, it's indecisiveness, or it's like more like, it's more like, oh, I need a little bit more clarity. I need a little bit more. And it's just like,
and it's like, no, you don't. Just do it.
Yeah. Just do it. Yeah.
Yep. There are so many times that I want to throw this deck across the room because I will be like, no, I want an answer. And it'll be like, you have it already, like.
That's probably true. In a way, all of this, I mean, all of the stuff that you're saying, none of it is necessarily like new information. It's just sort of like, yeah, it's like the way it's delivered. It's just a new way to sort of interpret that information, or like to see the story and maybe rewrite it. The stuff that I think about in my head doesn't need to be like that.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Whew.
All right. Well, are you ready for the next part?
Let's do it. Let's see. I'm nice and raw, and my bone, like I feel sieve-like, like things are just going to go into me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So we got mind, body, spirit.
Whew. All right.
Interesting.
That's my favorite part. That's probably your favorite part too. You get to be like, ooh, I know the cards. No one else does.
Yes, exactly. Now I'm just going to sit here and smile silently. No,
that's the power trip. That's what Circe loves. Secret.
Exactly.
That's the shadow self.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Circe embraces her shadow self.
Yeah.
So as I talk about myself in the third person. So these cards, this is really interesting. I think that so far, a lot of what we've talked about has been stuff that is around you. This is very clearly about inside of you. And I'll tell you why. We have seen a lot of wands. We've seen some coins. This draw has actually introduced a new suit, which is cups. And the cups, wands is fire, coins are earth, cups are water. And so that's goes into emotions, intuition, and relationships, spirituality, and feminine energy. Now, are you familiar with the dichotomy between masculine and feminine energy?
I mean, I feel like it's been garbled by a lot of noise and a lot of sort of societal, posturing about what those are. So I would love a primer from you.
I mean, I think that it's just important to recognize that it's not the masculine and feminine. All of us have those things inside of ourselves. It has nothing to do with sex or gender or any of those kind of things.
My penis.
How you identify, like it doesn't have anything to do with those things when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy. It's about the way that you handle circumstances and the way that you deal with the world. And if you think about like the difference between, the perfect example is, the wands are about masculine energy, and that's fire.
Right.
So it's a perfect comparison there. Like the masculine energy is fire, the feminine energy is water, and it's about balancing those things. Because there is like this cooling, soothing thing to water, but you also need to have fire, and you need to have passion, and you need to have courage and the will to really work through shit and do it hard, like all that kind of stuff. But then there's also, it seems like you'll want to be focusing a little bit more when you're looking inward on that feminine energy, that capacity for understanding for yourself and things like that. So that, I just wanted to talk about that immediately because it was a new suit that we've seen in this thing, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I'll show you the cards real quick. And so we have the 3 of Cups.
Those hands.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's like 3 different hands, and they're all kind of pouring water into the like the 3rd cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Combine that energy.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of.
Or sharing that energy.
Yeah. So that one is mind. And then we have body. We do actually have some more coins. This is the 10 of coins.
Ooh.
Yes. So that's body. And then spirit, we have the Ace of Cups. So spirit, and I don't know if you remember what I said about
the ace is the fool, right?
The ace is the fool. So it's tempting to look at the fool with judgment. With the word hatred is coming up to me. The thing about the fool, though, it doesn't necessarily, being naive is not being ignorant. Those are different things, you know? And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And the fool is actually primed and ready to learn and to accept information that's provided to them. And it's a beautiful place to be because it's the beginning of a journey. It's important to remember that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly, that it speaks to like what we're doing right now. Like that I'm sort of like new to tarot, or that I say yes to things that I don't know that. And I to me, that is my curiosity. That is the fool, and being willing to, you know, not know my rising sign at a manifestation walk when everyone else does, you know, and not knowing when I was born and stuff like that, but like being like, but accept the information that's given to me anyway. So like that, like, honestly, that one resonates a lot. And I mean, no, there's something about being a fool and having knowledge of that. Like, I think if you're a fool, but think you're smart, that's a dangerous place, but I'm pretty sure I don't think that. So,
I mean, there's also a different, you know, the fool is
it's not like fool equals dumb. Like that's also probably,
right. Good. Yeah. I think that it's just a moment of learning. And I think that can be a really lovely thing to explore. I think you're open to that too, which is very exciting. And you have to be open to it or it doesn't happen.
Right. It doesn't come in. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're not going to, speaking of mind, again, we'll go back to the 3 of Cups. You're not going to experience something that you can't handle, that you're not ready for. And so like this card specifically, it talks about, it's so interesting. Again, this is the mind. I'm just going to read you the card again because I love this deck. 3 of Cups glow in a radiant warmth that can only be created by hearts that share a past. The 3 of Cups is a spontaneous celebration in the past, present, or future that honors the bonds of family and intimate friendship. Through your solitary achievements, though your solitary achievements have been many, now is the time to acknowledge your community and revel in the love of those who know and support you.
Wow.
So I think that how I interpret this is you tend to, this is going to take me a minute. You tend to, you care about people and you're very outwardly focused. We've talked about that already. There are moments, though, when in your mind, you feel very solitary. And that is where you maybe need to focus outward a little bit more in that specific moment when you feel solitary in your mind. And that will also help shift when you are so focused on other people in certain circumstances. It's almost like you have to swap them a little bit.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. In those moments where I'm so used to being outward, I need to be inward. And then the moments where I'm so in my head or so solitary, lonely.
Yes.
I need to remember, the community, the people that care about me and love me. There's a lot of those fucking people.
Yes. Yeah.
That
And new
checks
ones
out.
every day.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Yeah. Circe's added to the list today. I hope.
Of course.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Wow. I guess I don't think I need a clarification like in terms of another card, but in terms of like those moments when I'm outward, I need to be, like you said, flip the two, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
what do you have like an example, or like do you know what I mean? Like, well, I guess it's like when when I am focused on things that I can't control or people that that's not my responsibility. It's sort of that, or just like
what I'm having, because this is more focused on the mind, this card specifically, I'm going to go back to that. So it's something, when you are, whatever that thought process is for you that creates that loneliness, share that with someone. Next time it happens, when you are in that moment of solitary sadness, loneliness, it feels a little bit like that's when there's some of that self-doubt that's happening.
Oh yeah, no, I actually know exactly when this happens. It's my anxious attachment. It's when I don't know if the other person understands me or what I said or took me like wrong or not how I intended it. Like it could be a mistake on my part too, but that's when I'm spending so much time worrying about what the other person thinks or feels about me rather than, oh, that's them. And that doesn't have to do with me.
And I think that's really important to remember, that what someone else thinks about you is none of your business.
Right.
That said, you also can very directly and succinctly ask a person if a certain thing rubbed them the wrong way. And I think that is where being a little bit more vocal about that, it puts you in a place of vulnerability. But I think that might be important for you.
Oh yeah, I think I'm doing that now. Like I think that feels like every conversation I have now. I'm like, and that's good. And it's practice. It's like what you're saying about all this.
Yeah. And I think there's something about like, not education exactly, but intelligence that is here too. And I think that you are intelligent. And I think that in and of itself sometimes creates that solitary feeling, because you are processing things at such a rate and you are doing things and you know exactly why you're doing them. And that's why that frustration comes in when you're not sure if someone else understands.
Right. Or I have to feel like I have to over explain or explain what I'm doing. And it's like, I've already done that.
Right.
I don't need, that's I resonate with that so much. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. So then we'll go to body, if you're ready for that.
Yeah, no, body is something that I feel like I'm less in tune with. So let's, but I'm awesome. I'm like learning to be more. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting because this card, the 10 of Coins, is all about abundance.
Ooh.
Yeah. Prosperity, stability, family matters, a legacy.
Oh, interesting.
So I think that, so what I'm feeling is there is some need for you to balance all three of these things, the mind, body, and spirit. I think that often you put all of your focus in just one of these areas.
Yes. Mine.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that it's I think that present experience where you are right now, you're starting to shift into separating out mind and spirit. And you are starting to experience more through your body more senses, more, you're going in the back way, like you're going from mind into spirit into body, which is okay. But it's also important to remember that you can go from body into spirit into mind. And you can, pay attention to your nervous system and understand how you are physically reacting to things and how that is going to change how you emotionally react to something. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that is like, I tend to lead with my brain or my intellect or my, whatever, rather than like sit in what my body is feeling, or I only notice it when it's disappointing me,
Yes.
And I don't appreciate like how much it carries for me or how much it does. And I've had like some experiences recently where it sort of has reminded me and brought me closer with my body, or just sort of learn to appreciate and love it. Work in progress, but yeah.
Practice makes progress.
Yeah, there it is.
So I have the Ace of Cups then, if we want to talk about spirit a little bit more. I think that, do you have any questions about body? Do you want like more information about that? Or
I mean, I'd love, read the card, or like, well, I guess you don't have to, but like if there's anything in the card that feels like maybe a nice punctuation mark.
I'll just read you the whole thing because it's really about abundance. And I think that the main takeaway for me from this reading is that need for balance. One of these things often feels neglected, whether it be mind, body, or spirit. And it's important to remember that you are so expansive that you can put energy into each of these things equally and have something left over. Like you will be able to still manage that. So let's see here. So 10 of Coins, the title is True Riches. And again, this is about body. From the green grass of youth, through the bricks and stone of middle age, to the garden of maturity, the rhythm of the years reveals the varied expressions of abundance in our lives. In the 10 of Coins, the raw energy of the ace has been thoughtfully cultivated to completion, a manifestation of prosperity in all things financial and spiritual. It is a moment for both gratitude and reflection.
Whoa.
I love that it talks about, from youth to middle age to maturity, like we're talking about the body, and it seems like you are in a good place in your relationship with your body. And it's again, there's that balance right now where you are, not only should you balance the focus on these things, but you can balance how you share them as well.
Interesting. Yeah.
And knowing that, you can share your mind, you can share your body, you can share your spirit, and what that looks like for you. And that there can be crossover too. The body is a wonderland, and you can experience these really magical things that can kind of take on a more spiritual expression if you let them. And so I think there is something there for you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it makes me think of like, I just did like, I was for a sketch group, I sort of modeled, and it was, I really liked it, and I got good feedback on it. And it was just sort of, but it sort of feels like that, like in terms of sharing my body in a different way, and also like not necessarily a physical way, or like a sexual way.
And I think like maintaining that openness with all three of these things. But again, I just like screaming earlier, it was screaming about the grounded thing, and now it's just screaming balance.
Okay.
So yeah, just continually.
Well, and those seem connected to me. Like, how could I be balanced if I'm not grounded? Right. Like I'm sort of like, how you can't balance in the clouds,
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that makes sense.
Cool. So then ready for spirit?
Yeah. I'm ready to, yes, let's do it. Let's be spiritual.
We talked about how the Ace of Cups is feminine energy. I think that you are learning how to care for yourself emotionally. That is really reflected in this card. The title for it is Emotional Connection. And it's important to remember that we can have emotional connection with others, but we also have emotional connection with ourselves. There is also, we all have an internal family dynamic where we all have our inner child. We all have our protector. We all have our whatever things you needed to create within yourself to cope with the things that you've been through, to just learn how to handle certain circumstances, things like that. It's important to look at those things and make sure that your emotional connection with those pieces of you are also fulfilled. So whether that is more continued inner child work for you, continued shadow work. I personally am working on the protector aspect for myself. So I can't tell if that is bleeding into this or not. But if you feel like sometimes when we are focused on, vulnerability is hard. And sometimes we want to protect ourselves from that. And sometimes it's a matter of understanding if that is coming from a place of, I'm just not in this headspace right now, and that's okay. Or if it's a avoidance tactic.
Right.
So take that for what you will. Because again, that's something that I'm currently working on. So I don't know if that is bleeding into this.
Right. Bleeding into it. But no, it does resonate in some way. I mean, there's a balance in there too, being open and vulnerable, but also but also understanding if I'm not in the headspace for it yet, rather than force me into it, or the other way of avoiding it when I am ready. And I think, there are certain topics or things that I sort of want to explore that have come to mind, through this podcast or through whatever. Yeah,
definitely. You are on a path of exploration. I wouldn't even say that you are in the place of the fool. I think that you are learning. There's the fool, and then there's the magician, and then there's all these different things. And I think that you are learning about the tools that you have at your disposal, whether that be within yourself or within your friend group or within, the many multi-talented people that you have surrounded yourself with. I think that you are exploring emotional connections with people and with yourself. And again, that is another space where balance is required. The big takeaway from this reading that I feel is balancing giving and receiving, knowing that you will feel when something is right. Again, that whole trust yourself statement. And I think that trust yourself applies to every aspect of your life. That applies to friendships, relationships, to your business, to your emotional growth, to all of these different things, to the hardships you might face, to all of these things. You can go through them wholeheartedly knowing that you are capable and you are going to succeed. That is something that is said in this reading, literally verbatim, that success is certain. Ooh. So go through knowing that,
Yeah. Wow. That was so, thank you so much, Circe. And you were mentioning that I'm surrounding myself or learning about all these talented people that are sort of, and I immediately was like, well, here's one of them right here, shining star. So I feel a lot of gratitude to you. And this has been really fun and interesting and fascinating. And also just I like being the fool when I'm with someone like you, and I don't think and like you said, it's just sort of, I think it's actually learning that the fool, there's things to learn from every part of, or who you are, or the fool is actually kind of a nice place to be sometimes.
Right. It is. It's such a learning experience.
And that's, learning is living. And that sounds like just a bumper sticker, but I know that you have to go, and I just want to say thank you again. I feel like we did it. Whatever we were going towards, I feel great.
I think so too.
You do as well? Okay, great. I was going to ask to make sure.
Yeah, I did. I loved this reading. I loved doing it for you. Thank you for letting me see these pieces of you, for sharing them with me. I am also honored to have been able to share some of this with you and explore some of it with you. It's been
Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah, you made it very easy. Like I felt like you understood and felt like held my shards, So thank you. So thank you. And I'm going to recommend everyone to visit Circe.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, bye. I'm so grateful to Circe for joining me and to you all for listening to our reading. If you'd like a spiritual date with the beyond, visit seekingallseekers.com. And if you like what I'm doing, if you like what you're hearing, do me a favor. Please join my Patreon, join this community, and be part of the conversation. Be empowered in where this show goes from here. The Patreon link is in the description. And if you can't afford to donate, not to worry, reach out and I'll invite you to our Discord or I'll add you to Wanderings, my newsletter. And if you haven't already, stop what you're doing. Safely, that is. Pull over. And now that you're pulled over, safe and primed, please rate and subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tell all your spiritual advisors. It would mean a lot to me. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at NakedManPod, and don't hesitate to reach out to us at nakedmanpod@gmail.com. If you have any thoughts and feelings you'd like to share, maybe about the balance of your masculine-feminine energy, call and leave a message at the Naked Man phone line at 747-231-7120. Next time on the Naked Man Podcast, I'm talking about male role models and the quest for a healthier masculinity with Better Boys, Better Men author Andrew Reiner. In the meantime, as my dad always says, be sweet. This episode of the Naked Man Podcast was conceived by Andy Green in collaboration with Circe. Or it was probably the other way around. The Naked Man is a podcast hosted, created, and produced by me, Andy Green. All music was composed by Robert Panico, and all graphics were created by Christopher Miles.